Welcome back to the Art Inside the Craft podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Glazier, and this is episode number 27. Today's guest is a multi-talented musician, actor, and artist, Omar Doom. While you might recognize him from Tarantino films like Grindhouse, Death Proof, and Inglourious Basterds, Omar's background also includes a fine arts degree from Parsons School of Design in New York and a lifetime as a musician in a variety of musical disciplines. I spoke with Omar about his musical and artistic background before we get into his album, Straight Razor 2. It's very aptly named as each track is sharp as a razor and takes you on a thematic journey. We also discuss some of his remix work and live shows. Let's listen in on that interview now with Omar Doom. Like I said, I really dig the album, which is Straight Razor Volume 2. And before we kind of get deep into that, I wanted to talk just a little bit about your musical and artistic background, like where you grew up and all that, because it was kind of really fascinating. While I'm listening to your music, I was reading through your bio and a lot of stuff kind of seemed to match up for me, like obviously your background and then how your music comes out. So if you wouldn't mind, would you want to talk just a little bit about that first?
Well, how far back you want to go?
Whatever inspires you, I guess.
Well, the way that I started with music was when I was really young. I started taking classical piano in second grade. Mm-hmm. Did that for a few years, a little bit of violin, and eventually quit all that and started playing drums, bass, guitar, and then singing. And then I ended up putting a band together in high school. It was more of like a hardcore style band. Mm-hmm. And then I went to art school, where I kind of didn't do music for a while and I was just painting. And I went to Parsons in New York and also Parsons in Paris for a year.
Yes.
And when I got out of there, I moved to LA to start a clothing company with my sister.
Yeah.
And that was really cool. That was fun for a while. And then acting was something I always wanted to do. I had taken some acting classes here and there, but I decided that I wanted to go back to that and take it more seriously. Mm. And I've been kind of going back and forth between music and, the acting, and there's probably going to be some art coming up.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, that's one of the questions that when I had read that, that I wanted to ask is, did you think that your time in Paris, because you were there kind of earlier in your, I guess, developing, artistic abilities, did that have a big influence on you, or was it just kind of another experience you took in and kind of made your own?
Yeah. Well, when I got out of high school, and I had this, this urge to just explore everything, because I was just coming out of Easton, Pennsylvania. And so I moved to New York, where I always loved going anyway, because I was only an hour away. And I just wanted to go everywhere. I met a girl in school and we just traveled everywhere together. And just, it was just a lot of fun. And being in Paris was great because, it was very romantic, of course. But also, instead of learning about books and art history, learning about paintings and books and art history, I could go and see the actual painting. Right. And our classes wouldn't be sitting in class looking at a slideshow or something. We just go to the classes just in the museum.
Wow.
We just go and see the actual art. Or, if you're in a painting class, you just go to the Seine, the river,
yeah,
and you can just set up an easel and that's your class. And then we're outside and it's beautiful weather, and just with the Paris backdrop, it was great. I mean, incredible. I was 17 years old. No, I was 19 or 20. Yeah.
Wow. Incredible. Yeah. Very cool. And then, as you mentioned, the clothing company, which was very cool. And then just reading through your bio, and we don't have to get into this a lot, but one of the things you ended up doing was interacting with a lot of actors and directors, including Tarantino. And so I was just kind of wondering, like, when you started working with him, was there anything you kind of picked up from his creative process that you kind of wrapped into yourself, or anything that he did that you kind of like?
Well, I try not to compare myself to him, but he's one thing that I learned from him is he's so single focused, and his whole life is movies, and that's why what he does is so great. He devotes his whole life to it, and watching that and realizing that I did the opposite of that.
But it kind of adds to it's more unique to your experience, wrapping everything in. That's cool.
Yeah, it was really impressive. Everything, I'm very impressed by him on so many ways.
Cool.
Obviously,
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm kind of circling back to the clothing, actually. I got reminded of that because one of the cool things we did with our clothing companies, we made shirts for Kill Bill in in the church scene after the massacre. Some of the girls in the back, some of the girls hanging out had our shirts on.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
I'll have to look for that.
He helped us out a lot with that. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, kind of getting into Straight Razor 2, it has a really like cool cinematic feel when I listen to it, and it's just super like, I don't exactly know how to describe this, but it's super clean and very aptly named because it is just razor sharp. So I kind of have, I guess, a two-part question. First, how do you write? Meaning, like, are you on a keyboard or a synthesizer? Are you using another instrument? And then do you specifically write songs, like when you go in to create this album, do you specifically say, I'm going to write for this? Or are you just kind of always creating and just these things fit together for this album?
I'm not always creating, it's in spurts. So, I usually procrastinate for like 6 months. But in that 6 months, I'm collecting ideas. You know what I mean? Yeah. And shaping the sound in my head.
Gotcha.
And like, just, I don't know. Yeah, basically shaping the sound. But once I get to the end of that, it's pretty short spurt. They kind of just flow out of me pretty fast. That's the way I've been doing it now. Back in the day, I used to make like 100 songs, 100 ideas, and then like pick 3 out of them.
Wow.
Like you can even see in my computer, 2017 song 86. Jeez. They're all labeled like that. I still do a little bit of that, but not as much. I kind of know a little more about what I want to do than I did then.
Yeah, very cool. And I also saw that your song Lady Midday was in the film Spree in 2020. So obviously you kind of, I guess, have been working on these things for a little while before they actually end up on an album, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, that was really cool though. They used it for the main title credits in the beginning, and they did the entire song. And that is like cool. A 5.5 minute song. Yeah. Because I wrote that song kind of like a movie in different acts. So it kind of has a flow or it builds up and then it comes down. Yeah. And so they just used that for the mood of the entire opening.
Just
know fantastic. What I mean? The scenes, all the shots followed the music.
Right.
And that was I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, that's really unique because you don't usually, they'll usually pull out a clip or a little piece and add it here and there, but that's cool they did that.
I mean, there are parts where it falls into the background, but it's still there and it comes back.
Right. And so then another question I kind of had is, what is your process for like flushing out your music? Because I've been following along on your Instagram and I see you play at tons of gigs. So do you like bring new music into that process and play it out at all? Or is it kind of all, what you want when you're going to put it on?
Yeah, I test songs out. I definitely took some songs out of my set and added some during a little mini tour I did because I noticed which ones, it's like DJing, you notice which ones you're doing well. And, because I'm pretty much DJing up there. I'm not doing any live instrumentation. Sometimes I'm doing live remixing through Ableton. That could be fun, but I'm basically DJing.
Yeah, and that was kind of another question that I had. I saw that you're doing some remixes as well. And so is that kind of daunting for you to like take on somebody else's work and change it? Or are you kind of, at the point where you're like, check this out. Here's what I did with your song.
Yeah, I think everyone's like that. People get excited to open up the parts and make their version of this song. I mean, it's exciting, I think most producers feel the same way, because it's like, let me show you what I can do to it.
Yeah. It's always I always love remixes because it's really cool to see how somebody else is like, how your personality comes through that music, and it might have started off cool and you're like, wow. Incredible.
It's fun also because you're using other people's sounds, so something different comes out of you. And you usually don't, you're usually surprised by it because it's just, this happens in collaboration also. Same thing.
with this album, as I mentioned, I see you're playing a ton of LA gigs, and I honestly kind of don't follow your genre of music around quite as much as I don't know as much about it as I probably should as other genre musics. So will you go around and like do tours outside of LA and go to other places or go to other locations to do this? You kind
Well,
of
I
just
went
based
across
there.
the country and back in that little mini
Oh,
tour.
you already did. Nice.
Yeah, but between New York and LA, some in between.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got my new passport, so I'm ready to be booked overseas.
International. Nice. Yeah. Okay. All right. Fantastic.
Why I got it renewed, because I want to do that.
Yeah. And I would imagine they have tons of festivals over there too and stuff that you could, I'm sure, get into as well. Huge
Yeah,
events.
I haven't done festivals out here. I did the Red Bull Music Festival in New York, though.
Oh, cool. How did you like that?
That was cool. That was a lot of
fun. What's coming up? What you've got planned kind of from here on out for maybe like the rest of the year?
You can expect more remixes. Actually,
Cool.
There's going to be a lot of remixes coming up.
Fantastic.
Some that I do for other people, some that other people do for me. They're still in the process of being made, though.
Nice.
I have a merch store coming up where I'm selling Straight Razor t-shirts and accessories, getting back into the clothing business. This is
Good.
So that's actually fun because I started another company to do this merch stuff. So it's like I'm kind of like getting back into
it. That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's not really what I want to do. My goal is to be more like, when you asked me about what I'd learned from Quentin, I was talking about how he's single focused.
Sure.
What I was leading to, which I forgot to say, was that I realized that I'm more on the line of like John Carpenter, where he writes the movie, he writes the music, he directs the movie, and he combines all of his artistic abilities into one project.
Right.
And that's exactly what I want to do. I'm even going to do the art for it. Awesome.
Well, like I said, I'm a big fan of your work. I love what you do. So keep it up, and I'll keep following along.
All right, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again to Omar for discussing his album, Straight Razor 2, and his long history of artistic expression through his various creative outlets. Straight Razor 2 is available on all streaming platforms and available to purchase at Omar's Bandcamp site. It's also worth mentioning that Omar did a 200 limited run edition of vinyl copies for Straight Razor 2, which are now sold out. Get to his website or social media to see where he'll be performing and keep an eye out for those remixes and new music. Thank you again to Erica of Erica Tucker PR and Video Promotion for setting up this opportunity to chat with Omar. And I have to thank also my sponsors Ink19.com and Black Cat Bone Productions for their continued support. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you all down the road.